All right, so I always like to start with this question. Is who here wants to be healthy? Okay, yeah, I've never had anyone say, no, I don't really want to be healthy. Everybody raises their hands, okay? So then the next question, come on in. The next question then is why? Why do you want to be healthy? What are the reasons? And maybe not just you specifically, maybe just why do people want to be healthy in general? What are some of the reasons? If I went and asked somebody on the street, why do you want to be healthy? What do you think they'd say?
Quality of life.
Say that again.
Quality
of life, absolutely. That's one that I hear all the time. Quality of life. What else? Longevity, live longer, right? So I want to live longer, I want to have quality of life. What else? Energy, yep. So I'm going to put that in that same quality of life. Having that energy is going to allow you to be able to do the things that you need to. So a lot of times people want to be healthy because they want to be able to do the job that they need to do, play the sports that they need to play. So there, again, kind of falls into that quality of life and then living longer. There's two other ones that I always hear. I always hear the same four things, okay? And the two other ones I feel like a lot of times people are like, oh, I shouldn't maybe say that, but that is one of the reasons why people want to be healthy. And one of them is you just want to look better, okay? Do people that are healthy usually look better? So we want to look better, we want to have quality of life, we want to live longer. And then the last one I always hear is I just want to feel better. I don't want to have all this pains and aches. Come on in, guys. Yeah, if you want to grab some healthy snacks, you can. There's some seats right here. So we're just talking about all the different reasons why people want to be healthy, okay? And so again, the four big reasons that I always hear is I want to live longer, I want to look better, I want to feel better, and I want to have that quality of life, okay? And it's interesting because I know a lot of times I'm talking to Christians, I always ask the Christian, says, well, why would you want to live longer if you could go to heaven sooner? Okay, so why is that? Why would someone as a Christian actually want to live longer when you could actually go to heaven sooner if you died sooner? What is the reasons why Christians, why would you want to actually live longer on this earth? Yeah, Kurt.
You're healthier, you can serve the Lord.
Yes.
More.
Serving the Lord, absolutely. Is that what you're going to say, Doug?
Well, support family.
Yeah. So absolutely, there's serving the Lord. Another one I always hear is I could tell more people about Christ. We're not just put on this earth to evangelize, we're also put on this earth to be family, to raise up children, to serve the Lord in different ways by serving people. But then also we have purpose on this planet, right? There's a reason why we're here. And so God has us here for a purpose. And so to live longer, we can serve out that purpose longer. Okay, so then if we all and this is a question I asked some of you guys came in later, I'm guessing you're going to answer it. Who here wants to be healthy? I'm guessing you guys too. We all want to be healthy, right? I've yet to have anyone say that they want to be sick, okay? But in this country, a lot of people get sick. Would you agree? There's a lot of sick people in this country. So none of us want to be sick, but lots of people get sick. So tell me, what are the big reasons why people get sick then? Because we don't want to be sick. Diet, okay? So we're going to say there's going to be one big category called lifestyle. Diet's going to fall into there. What other things would fall into lifestyle, do you think? Exercise, lack of exercise, maybe not moving as much as you should. What else? Stress, yep. Stress is going to fall under lifestyle. What else? So there's a lot of things under lifestyle, but what are some other reasons why people could get sick? So we have lifestyle as one. Genetics, absolutely. So we can have genetics that actually cause us to get sick. And it's actually, you'd be surprised to know that there's very few diseases that actually, if you have this gene, you're going to get this disease. And an example of that would be Huntington disease. If you have this gene, you're going to get Huntington disease. But we have genes that predispose us to illnesses like heart disease and cancers and such. So genetics play a part, and they actually play a part in all of our health. But yeah, some genes can make us more prone to illnesses. So genes, lifestyle, what are some other reasons why people get sick? So we had, go ahead.
Ease of access to unhealthy things.
Yeah, so again, we're going to put that under lifestyle, but definitely we have access to things we shouldn't be doing. And then when you look at what happened recently with COVID and other things, what would we put that in the category of? So that would be germs, right? So germs can make people sick, genes can make people sick, lifestyle can make people sick. And then this last one, I'm gonna put it in the category of kind of out of your control. So maybe you'd call it bad luck. Like, okay, so how many have heard of asbestos? Okay, so asbestos, they all said it was a great thing. It would stop fires, and so it was a fire retardant. But if you worked beside it all day long, you got cancer, okay? And so that would be like bad luck. You didn't really have that control. So it could be we're outside working and there's chemicals being sprayed. We don't really know that it's happening, and that can cause us to get sick. So the 4 big reasons why people get sick is genes, germs, bad luck, and lifestyle, okay? In the United States, what do you think is the #1 cause of people getting sick? Lifestyle. So it's actually the things that we do to ourselves, okay? So lifestyle, and then I would say bad luck or things out of your control are becoming more and more of an issue in our country too. We're getting exposed to things that we've either been told that are healthy, or we're getting exposed to things that we know aren't healthy, but we don't even know that they're exposing us to them, okay? And so lifestyle is the #1 cause of death in the United States. And if we look at the statistics are pretty sad, because how many here wanted to be healthy? All of us, right? We all wanted to be healthy, yet the statistics show that 1 out of 2 Americans are gonna die of heart disease. So if we look at these statistics, you're gonna see that the #1 cause of death in the United States is heart disease. #2 cause of death is cancer, unintentional injury, stroke, respiratory diseases, Alzheimer's disease, diabetes, kidney disease. How many of those do you think can be related to lifestyle? All of them, right? So they all have some association with lifestyle, okay? So this is pretty sad. These are the statistics of how many people died in America, what percentage of them was heart disease, cancer. So we can look at lifestyle plays a huge part in our disease, okay, and people dying. So there's good news in that though, in that what? We can actually do something about it, okay? And that's what we're gonna be talking about today, because when you look at the problems, obesity, okay? Obesity can be a driving factor for heart disease, cancers, respiratory illnesses, diabetes. So this here is a graph in 1990, and it showed what percentage of that state had people in that state were either overweight or obese, okay? And if you look at the blue is less than 10%, greater than 10%, between 10 and 14%, 15 to 20%. So if you look at 1990, there wasn't one state in all of the United States that had the population of 15 to 20% was overweight or obese, okay? You fast forward to 2010, you'll see that a majority of them, there isn't one state that's in the blue anymore. In fact, most states now are 20 to 24%. And then you look here and you'll see that majority are between 30 and 35%, 35 and 40%, and you even have some states now that over 40% of their population is overweight and obese, okay? How many years is that? From 1990 to 2024.
36.
Yeah, so 34 years, 36 years today now. So in 36 years, we changed the whole face of America. That's all it took, it was 36 years, okay? If something doesn't change, what do you think will happen if we go another 36 years like this? So something has to change, right? Because this is a bad trend that we're on, okay? And so we look at obesity driving a lot of health issues. And what is that costing us? Just heart disease alone, in the year I think this is 2024, just heart disease, Alzheimer's cost almost $500 billion. Okay, that's $1 trillion, $500 billion. How preventable is heart disease? Do you guys know how preventable it is? According to the Journal of American Medical Association, it's 80 to 85% preventable. Okay, so if you could cut that cost by 80 to 85%, is that a lot of money? Yeah, could we make a lot of difference with that money instead of putting it into people dying of heart disease? And it is the #1 cause of death in men, okay? It's the #2 cause of death, it's the #1 cause of death in women too, okay? So it's a significant health problem. And then Alzheimer's, it's not the number one cause of death, but it's a very expensive disease to treat, okay? And it is definitely growing, okay? My wife owns a memory care facility, and so we get to see it every day. We get to see, we would love it if there was nobody living in that place, that there was no need for a memory care facility, but she has a waiting list like you wouldn't believe, okay? She could probably build 3 or 4 more memory care facilities and be full. That's the sad statistic. And so it's sad to see these statistics, but again, I want you to think about this, is because it's lifestyle that's driving it, understand that we can do something about it, okay? There's actually something that we can change, okay? And so the United States, we spend, if you look at the statistics, we spend almost twice as much as most of these countries. In fact, on average, we do spend twice as much money per person for healthcare, okay? And where do we rank when it comes, like, if you think like we spend the most, we should be the healthiest country, we should have the best healthcare, we rank dead last against those countries, okay? So again, there's a problem, right? And so when you look at every election, you'll see that, okay, there's a healthcare crisis. You'll hear it all the time, we gotta solve the healthcare crisis. And what are they usually talking about is who's gonna pay for healthcare. It doesn't matter who's gonna pay for healthcare, it's always coming out of your pocket, right? So it doesn't matter if people keep being as sick as they are, this country's gonna go bankrupt, whether you're paying for it privately or paying for it through government-funded healthcare. Okay, there's a big problem. The healthcare crisis in America is not who's gonna pay for healthcare, is that we have too many sick people in this country. And so what we need to do is change that. And so again, that's the real reason why we're here tonight, is to learn how can we change that. So I'm not here to make it like, oh man, that was a depressing talk. All he talked about was how bad things are. I want you to know, again, this is related mostly to lifestyle, so there's a lot that we can do when it comes to lifestyle. Okay, did that surprise you though, those numbers? Was anybody like, wow, I never knew that we were sick in this country? This is a surprise to me. Is that a surprise to you guys? No. Like if you talk to a smoker and you tell a smoker, hey, did you know that smoking can cause cancer? Do you think they'd say to you, that's a surprise to me. I did not know that. So in Canada, I don't know, you go to England a fair bit. I don't know what it's like in England, but in Canada, the cigarette packages are literally, it's a black package with a skull and crossbones on the cover. Like, this is what a pack of cigarettes looks like in Canada. And in the corner, the corner is the logo of what brand that is. It literally has cross and bones on it, and people are still smoking them. I mean, it's crazy to think. Would you go under your sink and find a jug that's got cross and bones on it, like, oh, I'll just drink some of this and see what happens. So we can see that people know that this stuff is harmful to our bodies. So then we have to look at, well, why are people making the decision? Why are they doing these lifestyle choices that's making them sick? Okay, so again, that's what we're going to talk about tonight, because that's really the most important thing. It's not a surprise that to know that you should eat healthy, right? If I tell you tonight, because I'm going to tell you tonight, hey, we should eat real healthy food, would you be surprised if I said that to you? No one's surprised by that, okay? So is the problem in the United States that we just don't have enough gyms in this country? What do you guys think? It's not that. Is it that we don't have enough access to healthy foods? It's not, right? So what is it that's causing us to just fail? Like, hey, I'm just gonna eat whatever I want, not exercise, do these lifestyle things, and so be it. And so I wanna talk about that tonight, especially from the perspective of, like, what's your perspective of health? Okay, so what do you guys see here? Who here sees an old lady? Okay, raise your hand if you see an old lady. Yeah, so maybe you've seen this before. Who here can see the young lady? Who here sees both? Okay, who can't see the young lady? Is there anyone that can't see the young lady? So you can all see, who here can't see the old lady? Okay, so this is the old lady's nose. Okay, this is her mouth, that's her big chin, kind of looks like a witch, right? So the young lady's got her head facing away, this is her chin, her ear, and that's her eye. So we can all look at this picture, and I think a lot of you have seen it, so that's why you can see both. But we can look at this picture and find, like, we can see two different things, okay? So the next slide we're gonna do is we're going to read a sentence, okay? And I'm going to on the count of 3, we're going to read this sentence together, and we're going to read it out loud, okay? And then when we're done the sentence, I'll tell you what the next step is, okay? So, on the count of 3, we're all going to read this sentence together, okay? 1, 2, 3. Finished files are the result of years of scientific study combined with the experience of years, okay? Now what I want you to do is your job is you're going to count the number of F's in this sentence, okay? Just count the number of F's. Don't count them out loud. When you're done counting the number of F's, just let me know that, or just kind of sit there. Don't tell anybody what you got. So count the number of F's in that sentence. Pretty simple. I'll give you a few more seconds to count the number of F's. All right, you guys all ready? Okay, how many got 3 F's in that sentence? How many got 4 F's in that sentence? How many got 5 F's in that sentence? And how many got 6 F's? Okay, did we all read the same sentence, right? Okay, so some people got 3, some people got 4, some people got 5, and there's 6. There's actually 6 sentences, 6 F's. Now, for some people that got 3, a lot of times what you miss is the word of. And why is that? The reason you miss it is because does the letter F make a V sound? No, that's like one of the only words that you'll see that an F makes a V sound. So when you said it out loud, you said, okay, that's not an F, that's a V, so you just skipped right over it, okay? So what I want you to see with this is perception makes a huge deal, okay? And when it comes to healthcare, and health, it can be really hard to navigate through it. Would you guys agree? Is there a lot of contradictions in what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, what kind of exercise you should be doing, what should we be doing when it comes to all these different things with health? It comes at us in a lot of different ways. It comes at us through social media, from our doctors, from our government, and it can be very contradictory, and it can be very hard to know, well, what do I do? Because they're saying this is healthy for me, they're saying that's not healthy for me. So what I want to talk about tonight is a bit of that, because I think it's really important. And I also want to really look at, like, what is your worldview of health, okay? And because we are being sold every day a worldview of health, okay? So one of the worldviews that we're being sold is, you had mentioned living longer, right? Okay, longevity. Is it wrong to want to live longer? No, absolutely not, okay? There's nothing wrong with us wanting to live longer, but it can be hard because this here pyramid, so these are all people that put out a pyramid. This pyramid is the longevity pyramid. But this pyramid here looks a lot different than this pyramid here, looks a lot different than this pyramid here, which looks a lot different than that pyramid there. What is it that I need to do to live longer, okay? And so you're gonna see, like, and you probably do, how many here see it on, like, if you're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, how many here have seen that there's all kinds of things that they're telling you to live longer? We've all seen it, right? And so this can be very confusing. Okay, but the thing is if that's your end goal is longevity, I want to show you a gentleman that I would say has gone over the top with it. Okay, so anybody ever hear of Brian Johnson? Yeah. So I want you to see what his thoughts are.
True or false? You, Brian Johnson, the man sitting across from me, one day, at some point, as of yet undefined in the future, you will die.
False. When you give birth to superintelligence, and now you can start extending lifespans to some unknown horizon, 200 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, we don't know. Millions of years, we don't know. When that happens, the entire game of humanity shifts from that singular focus on wealth accumulation and status and prestige to existence. That's the shift that's starting to happen right now.
True or false?
All right,
Brian
what do you guys
Johnson,
think?
The man sitting.
Is he gonna live forever?
No.
I would say he is gonna live forever, but I would say he's gonna live together, his soul is gonna live forever, right? Okay, so we do have life forever, everlasting life, okay? The key is, where's he gonna spend that, actually? So it's really important that we understand that he's talking about living on this earth, and he literally says millions of years. You could live for millions of years. That's what he is aspiring to. But we do know that his physical body is gonna die, okay? And so we're gonna see him again in a minute, because that's his approach to health now, his worldview on health, okay? Vanity, okay? So vanity is another big thing that's being promoted when it comes to healthcare right now, okay, when it comes to health, okay? Anybody ever heard of clavicular? Yeah, so one guy, okay? So I want you to see, so this is a whole thing called looks maxing, okay? So looks maxing apparently is pretty
Clavicular
gross.
dedicated his life to looks maxing. Before Clavicular became one of the most controversial influencers online, he was just a regular high school kid who felt unhappy with how he looked. Photos from before his transformation show, acne, less muscle, and a completely different style.
Oh my god, was that you before? What?
People online say he looks like a completely different person, but everything changed when he discovered something called looks maxing. Looks maxing is the idea of trying to become as physically attractive as possible.
So some of the looks matches that are sus.
But first it's simple, skincare, gym, grooming, but then it gets extreme. Clavicular didn't just improve his appearance, he went all in. He reportedly started using testosterone as a teenager, taking performance enhancers, and experimenting with extreme methods. Some people in the same community even promote things like bone smashing, literally hitting your face to reshape it. Doctors say this is dangerous and pseudoscience, with risks like fractures and nerve damage.
Both got your lateral zygomatic arch, right? So that gives you a wider, like, zygomatic.
Now, clavicular looks completely different, sharper jawline, leaner face, more muscular body, but experts say most of that change is likely from gym work, grooming, aging, and possible enhancements. Not extreme internet myths. The problem? Clavicular himself has called parts of his journey a horror story. Because the pressure to look perfect can go too far. So what started as self-improvement turned into something much bigger, and now people are asking, is looks maxing about confidence, or is it pushing people way too far? Clavicular dedicated his
Alright,
life
so-
to looks maxing.
the vanity approach for health. So we talked about it at the start. Why do people want to be healthy? They want to live longer. They want to look better. So again, is it wrong to want to live longer? No. Is it wrong to want to look better? No. And so the other thing I mentioned is want to feel better and then be able to function at optimal levels. So that's another thing we're going to talk about is optimal health. So have you guys seen some of this stuff? So especially you see it with women, but you're seeing it a lot more with men now. This is kind of a joke here that these are all the things that a woman's supposed to do. A woman's supposed to be out walking in the morning, but they can't run because if they run, that'll raise their cortisol level, and their cortisol level is high. Then that's going to impact their other hormones, and if that impacts their hormones, then they won't be able to sleep at night. So then they can't run, but they have to walk, but they have to walk with a weighted vest, and they have to make sure that they're getting half their body weight in ounces every day in water, and then they have to stand on the Vibe plate because that's going to help strengthen their bones too. And then they also have to wear this funny mask here because that mask is going to make their skin look younger. And so you can see, you can just keep going further and further down that path when you're trying to optimize your health. So again, is it wrong though to want to have your body functioning at its highest level? Absolutely not. We talked about that. It's one of the big reasons why people want to be healthy. We want to look better, feel better, we want to live longer, and we want to have our bodies functioning in optimal health. And so nothing wrong with those things. This is another thing that you're seeing is spirituality, okay? We're not talking religion, we're not talking like Christianity, we're talking about, oh, I'm not into religion, I'm into spirituality, okay? So I'm gonna show you again a clip from the gentleman that we saw earlier, Brian Johnson, because Brian Johnson isn't just trying to live longer, it's a religion, and you're gonna see this in this clip. So we're gonna watch it for a few minutes in this clip because it is really scary.
speaking of original things you've said, one of my favorite Brian Johnson quotes is, "Jesus is my biggest competitor."
Yeah.
If don't die is the next religion, what do you think people are actually seeking from something like that? Is it health, or do you think there's something even bigger?
Yeah. In our culture, Jesus really occupies a singular spot in people's minds, in that it's basically a do this, don't die. Right,
Or
so like-
do this, and if you die, you'll go to heaven.
Yeah, exactly. Fair enough. Yes, do this, and I mean, like, yeah. Anyways, it's like hell or heaven, but it basically is a prescriptive formula on if you do this, you get this positive outcome.
But I think it also gives people purpose. Like, it gives you a deep meaning, like you're living your life right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it basically takes all of the uncertainties of existence and it bundles it up really nicely to say you're in a nice, cozy spot. We have all, and this is my upbringing. You have all the answers that you need to know about life. You don't really have the existential worries. Like, if you just follow these rules, everything is okay, which is very soothing to the human mind. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say in that concept is that nobody has fundamentally disrupted or challenged or rebuilt something that competes with the concept of Jesus for 2,000 years. It is an uninterrupted monopoly in many parts of society in terms of how do you understand reality. And so what I'm saying by that concept is that we really do have right now a situation where we have a new possibility of understanding reality in entirely novel ways. And so in that sense, I'm trying to put forward a philosophy that defines reality in a fundamental way that would take that same place of like, we understand reality now in a different way. So yes.
So then for the people seeking it, you think it's some different version of accepting reality?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it takes a few layers to get where this makes sense. So here's my thought process. The existing LLMs basically master all knowledge that humans have, and when that happens, it can predict most things. Like, it can predict our emails, it can predict our texts, right? We can speak to it as if it's another person. And so in time, it's going to get better in a way where it can predict us better than we even know. Like, for example, I bet that Google knows enough about all of us through our email and Google Docs, like over some duration of time. It could probably predict with a high degree of accuracy what each of us is going to do ahead of time, almost like Minority Report, because our patterns are so predictable.
I think ChatGPT can already do this for me. It knows me better than I know myself, honestly.
Exactly. So as these AIs get better and their predictive capacity is better, at some point, it's going to be better than you. And at that point, you'll be like, honestly, it makes better decisions than I do. It actually takes better care of me than I can. It chooses a better partner for me. It actually does a better job at making these decisions at work. And when that happens, we're going to say, if I'm not a decision thing, what am I? And so I think what's going to happen in the coming months and years is, as a species, we're going to have this this existential crisis of what are we? Like, if you take back through like the religious framework, I am somebody who makes decisions, right or wrong, good or bad, and I'm rewarded. But if the algorithm is making it for me, then am I good or bad, and how do I construct that? So what I'm saying is, if we're walking towards this new place where we are no longer going to understand ourselves in stable ways, and in that moment, I want to say this is where we are to actually rebuild our identity. What do you think about that?
What
I
do you
think it makes
about that?
sense.
That's scary or not?
It is.
That's very scary. So basically, AI is going to make all your decisions for you. You won't make any decisions because it'll make better decisions than you can make, and that's how you're going to live. So basically, AI becomes your God, and it's scary. So I think a couple people said they know who Brian Johnson is. This guy has millions and millions of followers. This isn't some guy that's like some obscure guy. He has millions of people following him. He's a billionaire. So people see that, think, oh, he must be pretty smart. He knows what he's talking about. Very scary. So that is what you can see is happening when it comes to another paradigm of health, is that spirituality. But again, we're not talking about a relationship with Christ. We're talking about like spirituality, the universe. His is AI. AI is his God. Okay, scary. Okay, so what do you guys think about this picture? What? Okay, so it bothers us, right? Why does this picture bother us, though?
Smoking and pregnant.
So she's smoking, which is harmful for herself, but where it's more bothersome to us is she's smoking and it's harmful to the baby. Okay. Does the baby have any choice in the matter? Is the baby going to be impacted in a negative way? Yeah. So she is taking care of somebody else's body, and she's doing a bad job. Okay. How many here are taking care of somebody else's body? All of us, right? Whose body are we taking care of? God's. Yeah. We're, as a Christian, you say, when I become a Christian, I surrender myself fully to God. Not just certain parts, not certain aspects, but the whole thing. Okay? And that's also our health. Okay? So when we look at that, what I'm hoping that people will see with that, not to drive you out of guilt and shame, because there is no condemnation in Christ. There's no guilt in that. But we want to take care of ourselves because it honors God. Because we've said, this is no longer my own. Does anyone know any Bible verses that says that these bodies are not our own? So 1 Corinthians, yep, 6:19 and 20. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit who's in you, whom you received from God? You are not your own. You are bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. And I think what's interesting is I think that there's the healthcare community has kind of hijacked this Bible verse a little bit. And where they hijacked it was your body is a temple. Why is our body a temple? Is it because it's got all this value? Temples are very important things. Is it because of that? It's not. It's because the Holy Spirit lives inside you. Okay? In the Old Testament, they went to the temple, they went to the tabernacle to worship God because that's where he was. Now he lives inside of us. So does a non-Christian have a temple for a body? They don't. So I hear that all the time. I even remember there's a Wheaties commercial where this guy's like, well, my body's a temple. I got to put good food into it. Your body is not a temple if it doesn't house the Holy Spirit, okay? The reason I say that, I don't want to ever put our bodies at this value that they're just like so important, okay? Our bodies are made in the image of God, and our being is made in the image of God, which is really important. But if we value our bodies, we can make those bodies a God, right? Can we, when we look at longevity, can we make that a God? Yeah, absolutely. I remember going to Lifetime Fitness, and I got to meet this guy, and we got to know each other, and he was not a Christian, but he knew I was. And so one Sunday, I'm at the gym at Lifetime working out, and I'm there on Sunday morning. He's like, oh, I thought you'd be at church right now, kind of mocking me. And I said, well, I'm going to go to church after this. And I'm like, do you have a church you go to? He's like, this here is my church. And I was like, that's too bad that that's your church, because what's going to happen if something in life comes your way? And it did. A month later, I saw him, and I asked him how he was doing. He's like, oh, terrible. And so this guy was a pretty successful guy. He's like, well, I just lost my business. My wife left me. I lost my house, and I have to move now to Arizona and go live with my parents because I have no place to live. And I'm like, it's sad to think, like, okay, where's the Lifetime church there for you? Like, it's not going to be there for you, but because it's not a church, right? But you can make it a God. You can make longevity a God. You can make your body a God. You can make vanity, feeling better, optimal health. That can all become God's. But what we want to do as Christians is the reason why we want to take care of ourselves. Nothing wrong with looking better, feeling better, living longer, and having optimal health. But above all else, we want to take care of our bodies because it honors God, okay? And the other thing that can happen, and I've seen this, is what happens if we make our body our God, we take great care of it, and then we get sick still. And I see it all the time. I've seen people that have taken great care of their health and still get cancer. I've seen people that not take care of their bodies at all and live to be 110 years old. And so we don't want to do it for the results. What we want to do it for is it glorifies and honors God by taking care of our bodies. the results usually are going to be much better if we take care of our bodies. But there's not a guarantee. We're not taking care of our health because it's never, so if I take care of my health, I'm never gonna get cancer. If I take care of my health, I'm never gonna have a chronic health issue. If I take care of my health, I'm never gonna have an accident. That's not why we take care of our health, okay? We wanna have that paradigm. And I always start with this because I think when it comes to health, if you don't have a foundation of the reason I'm taking care of myself is because it honors God. If you don't have that paradigm, you're going to slip into those other paradigms, okay? Just so we don't worship God, we're going to worship something. And so that's what you see in healthcare. And that's why we also want to live by this Bible verse, Romans 12:1 and 2, is that therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. So I want you to also think about when I'm taking care of God's body, I'm worshiping Him at the same time. And that's a cool thing because we don't just have to worship Him in the 3 songs before the sermon, right? We can worship Him in so many other ways, but one of the ways is by putting healthy food into our bodies, by exercising, by moving our bodies, by having good community, by having all these healthy things, we can worship God, okay? So I always like to start with this because, again, this is the foundation. This is the paradigm that we should have. This is the perspective that we should have about our health. And as Christians, I think we should look different than the rest of the world, okay? 1 Peter talks about being a peculiar people. How many here want to be peculiar? I mean, you think of that word, you don't really think peculiar is a good word, but do you guys know what the definition of peculiar is? To be different or holy, set apart. And so we should look different while we're taking care of ourselves as Christians. People should be able to see it in all of our life, but also in how we take care of our bodies. So, it's been a little bit of sitting. I think you've been sitting too long, so we're going to all stand up and move our bodies, okay? So, sitting is really hard on the body, and so I want to make sure that we get up and move our bodies. So we're going to do a thing called a YWTL. So you might have to spread out a little bit. So the first thing you're going to do, how many have jobs where you sit for work? So yeah, a number of you. That's kind of the norm now. We all sit for work. And so what I want you to do is get out of that posture, because when we sit, we can get kind of into this hunched over. So what I want you to do is everybody put their hands up in the air, and now wave them around like, no, I'm just kidding. So put your hands up through the ceiling is what you're trying to do, okay? So while you're doing this is you're getting yourself out of that posture. So this is a extension, they'd call it, but it's also a very vulnerable position. So this is why people would worship like this. You don't see people worshiping like this. It's like this because it's very vulnerable. It's a position of surrender, okay? So this will fire your parasympathetic nervous system, kind of shuts off that stress. So you hold it for about 10 to 15 seconds. Then what I want you to do is come down here and squeeze your shoulder blades together and push your elbows down, okay? So what you're doing here is getting out of that posture of this and getting into a posture again of extension. So it's a Y, it's a W, then you're gonna open up your arms like this, and then I want you to roll your thumbs back like this, okay? So just see how you get your hands like this, Tim? Yep, just like that. So you'll feel that right there. It's almost like, okay, this feels super uncomfortable and good at the same time, okay? So that's the T part, and then you're gonna come down here, put your thumbs out like this, and then just come back as far as you can. So again, what you're trying to do is squeeze your shoulder blades together and down. You're trying to get out of this posture, so you're getting into this posture, okay? So a Y, a W, T, and L's. You're wonderful, thank you, Lord. This could be a way to remember that. So YWTLs. Okay, you can grab a seat, all right? So sitting is really hard on our bodies, so we're going to talk about some of the things now that we can do for our health. Now I want this to be pretty interactive too, and we'll see how far, like how much we can get through tonight to go through some of the things that you guys are being taught or told through YouTube, social media, through Instagram, TikTok. You're being inundated with all the things that you should be doing for your health, okay? And it can become, just like I was talking about with that lady, that your daily regimen is 5 to 6 hours of taking care of yourself, and you can't really even live life because all you're doing is trying to take care of yourself. And so what we're gonna start with is one of the most important things that you see when it comes to health, and that's sleep, okay? How many here have they go to bed, they put their head down on the pillow, they fall asleep, and then they wake up the next day. Yeah, so Brady's the only one. You kind of do? Yeah. So I've had times in my life where I haven't had that. I really pretty much have that now. Like I can be asleep in 10 to 15 seconds. I tell my wife that all the time. I'm going to be asleep in 10 to 15 seconds, and I do, and then I wake up the next day. And that's really how it should be. So what do you think is interrupting people's sleep? What do you think are the things that are stopping you? Because how many here have heard the term, you got to have good sleep hygiene? Have you guys heard that? Okay, so what are the things that you guys have heard that you should do to have good sleep hygiene?
Bathroom.
So go to the bathroom before you go to bed? Yep,
Yeah,
so because you don't...
Every 2 hours?
Yeah, so tell, like every 2 hours, what do you mean? Like in the middle of the night?
Yeah, go to the bathroom.
Like well, that's going to disrupt your sleep, isn't it? No.
When I get back in bed, I go to bed for sleep.
Okay, so you're like, you don't set an alarm to do this though, do you? No. Like you just get, so you should not, and this is a big one that I hear, is people say all the time is that the reason I have to get up is I have to go to the bathroom. You shouldn't have to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Do you guys know, as guys, do you know what's supposed to stop you from that happening? What's that?
I forgot it's sphincter or whatever.
Yeah, so you're talking about like the sphincter, like a bladder, like so. No, it's actually an erection. An erection should stop you. Okay, most guys after a certain age can no longer have nighttime erections, even though they're supposed to have them. Okay, that's one of the reasons. Okay, or one of the things that can happen. I'd say the other is people trying to get so much water into their day that they're, oh yeah, I didn't get my all my body weights ounces of water, and so they're drinking water right until bedtime. You really should stop drinking water at supper time and not drink anything after that. Okay, so that's another the reason why you're getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, but you shouldn't actually have to get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Okay, so but that is one of the big ones, going to the bathroom. What are some other things that will disrupt your sleep? Stress, absolutely. You wake up and you start thinking, oh man, I got this big meeting today, or I've got this customer I got to meet with, and so stress could definitely do that too. Anyone here retired? Yeah, so is it different, or does stress still exist?
Well, it exists, but not the same way.
Not in the same way, yeah. You don't have to wake up like, oh yeah, I got to check my emails, yeah, is that the same for you, Chris?
So you always got something you can think of to worry
Yeah.
about.
When you have family, right? You have kids, now you have grandkids, and so there's still stuff to stress about, right? So the stress is not going away, okay? So how we deal with our stress is an important thing to talk about. But yeah, so what other things have you guys heard either disrupt sleep or you should be doing to prevent,
Breathing, like your airway.
Yeah, yeah.
Posture.
So sleep apnea is a big thing. I'd say it's like epidemic in our country. And it used to be, well, it's because you're overweight. And yet I have all kinds of patients, you name the size of the person, skinny people, overweight people, are all dealing with sleep apnea. And it's interesting that nobody's like, have you guys ever seen a study to determine what's causing sleep apnea? Yeah, it blows my mind. We have all these sleep studies to know that what you could do for sleep apnea, but they're not doing anything to figure out why. I think some of it's got to do with the chemicals that we're sleeping on, because these mattresses are filled with toxins, okay? And so I think that's potentially one of the reasons why. But yeah, definitely sleep apnea is a huge thing. So having an airway, so then some people will do those breathe right sleep, strips, or they'll make sure that I'm sleeping on my side, or I'll take my bed and I'll tilt it up. And so there's all these different things that we can do to try to not stop our breathing, okay? So that our breathing happens all night long. What other things could disrupt sleep, or you've heard that you should be doing to have good sleep throughout the night?
For me, it's caffeine.
Caffeine, yep. So overstimulated before bed, yep. So you kind of have to cut off caffeine by a certain period. I can literally drink a can of energy drink and I can go straight to bed. So for some people, caffeine doesn't bother them. I know a lot of people that like, hey, caffeine, I really don't get the effects of it. For some people, they can have one drink in the morning and then it just wrecks their whole day. So what else were you gonna say, Tim?
Depends on what you eat.
Yeah,
Certain foods.
Certain foods can definitely wake us up. When you eat, right? If you're eating right before bed. I remember one of the reasons why I felt like and I didn't realize it at first, but one of the reasons that I feel like I improved my sleep is I stopped eating after 6 o'clock. I go to bed at 9, so 3 to 4 hours before bed, I won't eat anything. And if I eat something, if I like have to be at an event or something and I have to eat later, I will notice it and it will wake me up in the middle of the night. So when we eat is also an important thing. And what other things you do?
Screen time.
Screen time, yep. So blue light, right? They talk about blue light. Blue light is highest amount of blue light is in the middle of the day from the sun. Okay, that's when the sun gives you the most blue light. So that's when we're most, our brain is most awake basically. And if we're exposing ourselves to blue light, our brain thinks, oh, it's the middle of the day. Why would I go to sleep right now? So yeah, screens. So you can shut off blue light in your screens, right? So you can still do some screen time, but screen time sometimes can get you stressed out too. Like if you're doing screen time, like I'm working still, that's gonna potentially cause stress. Or if I'm watching a TV show that can be stressful or that's got me like excited, like, and then it's hard to go to sleep because it got my heart rate up and such. So when it comes to sleep, the biggest things that I would say that are important is one, is it starts in the morning, and that what I mean by that is getting your cortisol levels raised in the morning so that as the day goes on, do you guys know what cortisol does in your body? A lot of people have heard that cortisol is the stress hormone, you don't want it, it's a bad hormone to have. Cortisol is a great hormone, it just needs to be released at the right time. Cortisol is what wakes you up in the morning, okay? So if you're waking up super groggy in the morning, it's because you didn't release the cortisol that you needed to, that should wake you up, okay? And then if you're jazzed right before bed, it's probably because your cortisol is too high. And it could be because of stress, it could be because of a lot of different things. So you want your cortisol high in the morning, and as the day goes on, it just goes down, okay? And so that's where a lot of people find that they're most productive in the morning because their cortisol levels are the highest. But you don't want to see what's happening to a lot of Americans is I'm just gonna keep that cortisol level high all the way through, and then at nighttime it should just drop off. It doesn't work that way. So we really cannot be working all the way till right before we go to bed, okay? Because we're raising our cortisol levels. So we should have our cortisol levels high, and then as the day goes on, slowly going down. Caffeine should be consumed if you're gonna consume it more in morning, mid-morning, and a lot of people would say afternoon, but I would say each person's different. Like I said, I know people that drink a cup of coffee and that just wrecks them for sleep. So maybe those people shouldn't do caffeine at all. So when you look at other things that you can do for sleep then to help you is a big one would be exercising in the daytime, okay? Not before, like, so a lot of people will go to a gym like 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night, the end of the day. That's usually gonna raise your cortisol levels because that's what it's supposed to do. So it's really a bad time to be exercising, okay? Now, not everybody has that opportunity to not exercise at night. How many do exercise at night here? So a few of you?
After 6.
Yeah, so depending on,
4 to 6.
yeah, so again, depends on when you can get that cortisol back down, but I'm talking more like 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. Yeah, so yeah, you said.
For some reason, my body works better. I don't do it as much, but I actually do better.
Yeah.
Later I work out.
Yeah, like and is that like a lifting or is it cardio?
Just anything, the later, it works better the later I
Yeah.
work out, but I can't.
And then do you have a problem falling asleep at all?
No,
with
it's
that?
actually better.
Oh, nice, yeah. So it gets it high and then it can drop down. So for some people, so you kind of have to figure, everybody's unique, you have to kind of figure it out. I have a really good schedule because I can create my own schedule being the owner of my business. So what I do is at lunchtime, I go and work out. That's when I get to work out, is in the middle of the day. And it's a great way to energize myself for the rest of the day. Some people, any morning people like to work out first thing in the morning. Yeah, so that for me would be hard. I feel like because my body doesn't seem like it's ready to work out, so I will go for a walk. But so when we exercise could impact your sleep, so you may have to play around with that. Like you said, it actually helps you with your sleep. And for some people it gets them too jazzed and they can't. So you have to play around with that. And then we had mentioned eating, okay? I've not seen any study that shows that eating right before bed helps people to sleep, okay? Except for people that have blood sugar issues, okay? And those people will be encouraged to eat like food right before bed to have sugar while they're sleeping, okay? Because what can happen for some people is they can be sleeping And then as we're sleeping, we're using up blood sugar, and do you guys know what part of the body is using up that sugar?
Your heart.
It's your brain. Your brain uses up about 30% of all the fuel you bring in, and it uses at nighttime, it's using up almost all the fuel that you still have. So the brain is very active when you're sleeping. The rest of your body is pretty inactive. So what happens though, if your blood sugar drops too low, your brain's like, hey, I'm not getting any sugar, I'm not getting any energy, I need fuel. So it activates the hormone cortisol, okay? Cortisol helps you make sugar so that you get that blood sugar into your blood and gets it to the brain. What else does cortisol do? You guys remember? What's that?
Raises stress.
So it's a stress hormone, yes, but what did I say it does in the morning? It wakes you up. So you wake up, how many can relate to this? You wake up 1 or 2 in the morning, you're wide awake, you almost feel like, I think it must be morning. It's like I'm ready to take on the day. Like you're wide awake. And the reason why is you had a cortisol spike. And you had that cortisol spike because your blood sugar dipped too low. Okay, and so the problem is, a lot of people say what you need to do then is just eat a bunch of sugar right before bed, which is a very bad idea, okay? Because what it does is it makes you become dependent on sugar. What you should do is learn how to burn fat for fuel, okay? So if you guys remember the ketogenic diet, like lots of people are doing that, what they were teaching their body, and it's a really good thing to do, is teach your body how to burn fat for fuel and sugar for fuel, so that when the sugar drops down, you can use fat for fuel, because you do not need to have cortisol or insulin to burn fat for fuel, okay? So I found, so I was waking up in the middle of the night, I was waking up like 1 or 2 in the morning, wide awake, and I also wake up sometimes and I'd just be sweating, okay? They call them, so it's not menopause where you're having a hot flash, but they call them night sweats. I'd just be sweating, and the reason why is because of that cortisol. My heart rate would go way up because of that cortisol, and so then I started doing this. I started for like 6 months. I did intermittent fasting. I didn't eat till noon, and then I ate more of what we call a ketogenic slant. So I ate a lot of fat, not what most ketogenic diets would say, but I'd probably be in that 30 to 50% of my calories came from fat. I did that for about 6 months, and I taught my body how to burn fat for fuel. And then I just found that I don't even need to keep eating that way. Basically reset my body, and it's been the same ever since. So just that worked for me. But just know that if you're waking up 1 and 2 in the morning and you're like wide awake and it takes about an hour to an hour and a half to fall back to sleep, it's because your cortisol levels got high. Okay, you can actually test for that. You can do saliva testing to see if your cortisol levels are off, and so it's a really good test to do. So that's one of the reasons why people will wake up. Now, some people will wake up in the middle of the night and they're up from 1 till like 4 or 5. That's a hormone problem, probably. And so they're dealing with either low testosterone or some other hormone that's throwing them off. So it's really important to understand that. And if that's the case, that's a pretty serious health issue, because you're up for 3-4 hours and you're really probably falling back to sleep for maybe a half hour, and then you gotta go to work. Whereas the cortisol, you fall back to sleep, you will see this a lot, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys have seen this, I'd fall back to sleep, and I'd probably sleep for another 2-3 hours, but I'd wake up way more tired than I did when I woke up at 1 or 2. I mean, it was kind of like, man, I should just got up at 1 and 2 and started working, because I was wide awake then. Now I'm just kind of dragging because I depleted my body of that cortisol, okay? So really important to understand that how we eat, what we eat right before bed makes a huge difference. So we really want to avoid eating that 3 to 4 hours beforehand. We want to teach our body to burn fat for fuel and not just sugar, okay? Questions with sleep at all? How about the temperature of the room? Keep it cool, right? Yes. Yeah, so it's interesting that we have all these rules around sleep, and then you read in the Bible, what did David pull up to go to sleep on? What did he use? He grabbed a rock, put his head on it, and went to bed. It's like, okay. So I think that some of it is also that we're not as physical. Even though we go work out, we don't have that physicality. We were running from King Saul for months on end. So I think that it's really important that we realize Like, because again, we can have all these rules and we can have all these things around it, and you can almost stress this out. Well, okay, that's right, I forgot, I gotta turn on my sleep machine, I gotta turn on the air conditioner so it's 68 degrees in my room, I gotta have a blanket that keeps me cool. So we can get a little bit over the top with it, right? So we do want to make sure that we understand that we should be able to just fall asleep and stay asleep. And so it's the things we do in the daytime too that makes a big difference. So our stress levels, how we handle our stress as well. So that is sleep. So tips for healthy sleep. Some people would say you should set an alarm to go to bed, not to wake up in the morning. So I don't even set an alarm in the morning. I don't set an alarm at nighttime. My body starts just shutting me down at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and I'm asleep by 9. So setting an alarm to go to sleep, but sleeping at the same time. Why is it important, do you think, to go to bed at the same time every time? Any thoughts? So you guys know the circadian rhythm, right? So we have a circadian rhythm. Some people, their circadian rhythm is to go to bed at 11 or midnight. Some people, it's 9 o'clock. And I feel like the people that go to bed or 11 or 12, they're kind of shunned, like, oh, those people are lazy. They stay up late and sleep in the morning. I don't think that's the case. I think you want to match up with your circadian rhythm, okay? So for me, I just go to bed early. I've always been that way, and I get up early. I get up at 4 a.m. I don't set an alarm. My body just wakes me up, and I'm up for the day, okay? But I think it is important that you still go to bed at the same time. The first 2 hours that you sleep is when you release the most growth hormone. Okay, that's when your body's repairing itself. So it's really important that you get those first 2 hours of sleep. So sometimes people will say, well, I'll just push it down the line then. Basically, I usually go to bed at 10 and I get up at 6, so I get 8 hours of sleep. Well, I'll go to bed at midnight and I'll get up at 8. That doesn't work because their body's used to releasing that growth hormone from 10 to midnight. You're gonna miss that window. Okay, so that's why you can still get the same amount of sleep, but if you shifted your sleep, you don't feel as rested. Okay, so really important that we go to bed at the same time, keep our room cool, have the same bedtime routine. Like I said, stop eating and stop drinking after 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed, because that will be super helpful. Okay, so that's sleep.
Do you have any tips, kind of like if your circadian rhythm is that natural late time, but then reality doesn't allow you to sleep?
Yeah, like your job, your kids.
Yeah, how do you compensate for that?
You're gonna have to try to shift it some. You're probably never gonna see the same thing as so shift it as far as you possibly can. Like, let's say you're used to going to bed at midnight, but hey, my kids get up at 5, 6 in the morning, or I have to get up to go to work that early. Then if it's 11 or 10, you can try to shift it, but you're probably never gonna get hey, I should be going to bed at 9 or whatever. So shifting it is the solution, unfortunately, or trying to figure a way like, hey, talking to your boss, can I come in later? I'm gonna be more productive. Unfortunately, most bosses, they don't. They're not gonna listen to that. So a lot of companies now, unfortunately, are making everybody come back to work, and they're finding like for sure, you go to Lifetime in the middle of the day, and all these people that are working from home aren't working from home, they're working out at Lifetime. So I think that some companies are seeing that, but I think there's a lot of people that are very productive working from home. So all that to say is you got to try to shift it as much as you can. Okay, exercise can be very hard to know what to do, and this is what I would say: the best exercise is the one that you're going to do. Okay, that is definitely the best exercise. So if someone's telling you have to do this, this, and this, and you're like, oh, I hate those 3 things, and then you never do them, that's not a good exercise for you. You have to find what's good for you. So for some people, it's going to be sports. For some people, it's going to be going to the gym and working out. For some people, it's going to be taking a walk out in nature. What you need to be doing is moving your body. How many have ever heard of the book, The Blue Zones? So you have, yeah. So the Blue Zones looked at people that were living the longest in our world, okay? And they found that there was 5 of these blue zones. And in those blue zones, 4 of the 5 were third world countries. Do you think they had gym memberships? None of them did, okay? So what do you think they were doing then? How did they stay fit? Yeah, their day was their exercise, right? Now, unfortunately, a lot of you guys raised your hand, is I work at a desk all day long, so how your day can't be your exercise. So we're trying to mimic what these people do in the day. Okay, so we go to the gym and we lift weights, and it's not real productive actually. You're just moving these weights there. They're in the same place when you leave them. It kind of feels like almost like, okay, that was kind of not really productive to do that, but it is productive because it helps your body to get stronger. But unfortunately, most of us don't have a job where we're lifting things all day long or moving our body all day long, so we have to try to mimic it. But you can't go to the gym and work out for 30, 40 minutes and then just go sit at a desk all day long and have the same benefit as someone that was moving their body all day long. It's just not the same. So you still have to find ways to move your body throughout the day. So now you're seeing, have you guys, maybe some of you guys have it, have you ever seen those treadmill desks? Yeah, so a lot of people don't want to use them because they already feel like I'm a rat in the rat race. And now I really feel like I'm a rat in the rat race because I'm on this treadmill. But it is important that we're moving our bodies constantly. The research shows that people that walk 10,000 steps a day are way healthier than people that don't walk 10,000 steps a day. So we want to be trying to get those steps in. And I would say when you look at one of the best exercises, especially as we get older, is walking. Walking is a really good exercise. It's good for a lot of reasons. It gets your body moving. And so from a spinal perspective, it's a really good way to move your spine, like a really good way. And so, yeah, did someone? No. So we want to be moving our bodies, we want to be walking, we want to make sure that, again, that our exercise lines up with what we would do, okay? So I'm not gonna go into great detail about exercising, but what have you guys heard that's kind of like some of the things that's being pushed on you with exercise? You're like, I don't know if that's true, not true. Any things that you guys are like hearing in social media? Like women are wearing weight vests, okay? I wear a weight vest pretty much every time I go for a walk. Do we need to wear weight vests? What do you think? No.
It helps with posture.
Yeah, so it can help with posture. Actually, more of a rucking sack, like so, where the backpack with the weight can actually help with your posture better than the weight vest can help that. So I wear it because I just feel like, I'm always, I don't know, this is just how I'm driven. How can I make things harder? That's how I'm always wired. Like, how can I make this walk harder? I know I'll wear a weighted vest. So it's not something that a person has to do. That's why I do it. It does add compression, which adds strength to my bones, and so that part's a healthy thing. But walking, what they found with the blue zones was that people that walked on an incline actually lived longer than the people that walked on flat surface. So anybody here go to Richard T. Anderson Park? Anyone in there? Yeah, so that's bottom of the Minnesota River Valley. You hike out of the valley, you hike back into the valley, you hike out of the valley. So it's a great way to get incline. So why is the incline help? Why does that help those people live longer? What do you guys think?
It gets your heart rate up.
Yeah, it gets your heart rate up. It's more exertion, right? So, yep, absolutely. But again, you're moving in a nice, easy way, and you're not putting as much stress on the joints, okay? So, exercise, like I said, I'm not gonna go into great detail with that. That's like, there's a lot of different things that are being pushed. Nutrition, this can be very confusing, okay? What is the best human diet? What do you guys think? Protein. So protein, the carnivore diet. I'm just gonna close this door. Okay. Okay, so protein, but that's not necessarily a diet. So what would be some of the diets that you guys have heard of?
Mediterranean.
The Mediterranean, yep, paleo, keto. So of those, which is the best one, you guys think?
Whatever works for you.
Whatever works for you. So I remember watching a documentary. The documentary was literally called The Perfect Human Diet, okay? And the perfect human diet, they said, was the paleo diet. That the paleo diet's been around. Now, they were evolutionists, so they believe that the paleo diet's been around for millions of years. It's the hunter and gatherer diet. It's the best diet out there, okay? And then I watched a documentary after that called Bethany's Story, and Bethany was a 13-year-old girl that got cancer, and she decided she was going to find a way to naturally cure herself of cancer, and so she started looking at different ways to eat, and she found that the raw vegan diet was the way she was going to cure herself of cancer. So she did that. She did a raw vegan diet, and she cured herself of cancer. And so then the rest of the documentary talked about why the raw vegan diet was the perfect human diet. Okay, so those two couldn't be really, like, they're about as opposite as possible. Okay, so you had the paleo diet saying it's the perfect human diet. The raw vegan diet, people were saying that's the perfect human diet. Are they both wrong or are they both right? What is it? Yeah, so this is what I would say, is I think that if you look at how people have eaten for thousands of years, I think that people ate a much more flexible diet. Okay, so let's say I was either a farming community or a hunter and gatherer. If I didn't kill an animal, what was I? I was a vegetarian or a vegan, right? If I killed an animal, what diet was I on? I was on the carnivore diet because we don't have a fridge to put this in. We're gonna eat this whole animal in the next day or two, okay? So I think that's how people have eaten for thousands of years, but we live in a society where you can just go, and I'm just about as guilty as anyone else because I eat the same meal pretty much all 3 meals a day, chicken and rice and vegetables. That's all I eat. So I'm not practicing what I'm preaching here. But what I'm saying is that we can go to a grocery store now, we can buy the exact same food every day, and that's what we can eat, the same thing, and we can eat as much as we want, because you go to, how many have gone to the grocery store and there was no food there? I mean, COVID, there was a time during COVID, but now we go to the grocery store, there's always food there. So when you look at how our ancestors, there was definitely days where there is no food. Like we're fasting. We're gonna do intermittent fasting today. Okay, they didn't call it that, right? That's how they lived. But now we're like, okay, we got intermittent fast. You got to do keto. You got to do paleo. And these diets. The reason they work is because our ancestors have eaten this way. Okay, but the key to good healthy eating is to eat real food. That's the first thing. Do not eat. Yeah.
I used to say that we have two kinds of food.
Yeah.
God's made food.
Yeah.
And man's made food.
Yeah.
Right?
And which
if God's made food, you're in good shape.
Yeah, which was designed for your body, right? Was right. God's made food. I always joke around like, so, because some people say, well, it's expensive. I'm like, okay, so let's look at, let's apply that to your car. Let's take your car and just, water is a lot cheaper to get out of the tap than gasoline is to get out of the hose. So why don't I just take a water hose, put it in my car, and fill the tank with water and drive around like that? Well, it's not gonna work, right? Because your car was not designed to burn water. Your car is designed to burn gas. Your body is designed to burn and build with real food. And like you said, God's food, right? God designed it for us. And so when he created us, he created food that would match up, right? And so what is man trying to do? We're trying to make it better. Can we make it better than God? We can't, right? Yet that's what we're trying to do. What most food companies are doing isn't trying to make you healthier, they're trying to sell you more of their food. And so how can we get you addicted to it? Well, we'll make it taste better, sweeter, we'll make it have texture, we'll make it look appealing. And so that's their whole goal, is to make food, you want to eat more of it, okay? And so we want to eat real food. And so Will, right? Matt, yeah. So you had said it's the diet that's best for you, absolutely. And how do you know that though, right? Like how do you know? Well, you have to experiment. That's what you have to do. You have to look at, well, I can eat these foods I don't really do well with. How do I feel after I eat these foods? Because some people, they can't eat nightshade plants, okay? That's tomatoes and potatoes and eggplant. Are those healthy foods? Yeah, so, but yet for that person, they're not, okay? So we have to look at what's best for our body personally, and so you have to kind of experiment with that. So it's not easy, okay? But what you can have a hard time with is people keep telling you a different way you should eat. Well, you should eat this way. You should do carnivore. You should do the paleo. You should figure out what's best for your body, okay? Because when you're eating, do you guys know that you're not just feeding your own body? Do you know you're feeding the bacteria in your gut? How important is that to have healthy bacteria? Do you guys know? So they actually did an experiment where they took obese rats and they took the bacteria out of their gut and put it into skinny rats, and within 2 weeks those skinny rats became obese. So we're not just eating for our own body, we're eating for this bacteria that lives on us, because that bacteria helps us to stay healthy. So there's a lot of complexity to eating right, but you're gonna be sold a lot through a lot of people trying to sell you foods, okay? Okay. So the benefits of various diets, like I said, there's a lot of different diets, but I think the more flexible we have our diet, the healthier we are actually. All right, so the Blue Zones had 9 common things that these people were doing to be healthy. And whenever I ask people, what do you think those 9 common things are, people always come up with 2. What do you think the 2 are that they would say that people do to be healthy? Yeah, diet and exercise. And then a lot of people are like, okay, I can't really think of anything else, okay? But community is huge, right? And what did we see during COVID? Like, you took community away and you made people sick, okay? So community is a huge part of health, okay? And so this whole idea of doing church online is just a podcast, is what you're watching, okay? Church online is, you gotta be in community. You gotta be communion with other people, because that's how God created us. So we need to be in community, and so community was a big part. So was the right tribe, okay? Do you know what they mean by that? What they mean by that is getting together with people that have similar beliefs, similar goals, passions, values. So like a Bible study would be a great way for a group of people, a group of guys to get together and have the right tribe. It could be a knitting group. It could be people that go on a bike ride together. It can be all these different things, but finding that right tribe is a really healthy thing to do. And so one of the things that men are very good at is isolating themselves from every other man, right? What does the Bible say about the devil? He compares him to a lion. God compares the devil to a lion. And what do lions do when they're hunting? Yeah, so they kill, steal, and destroy. How do they do it though? Single it out, yeah. First thing they do is the pride finds the weak, and then they take the weak and they isolate it, and then they go and kill it, right? And so that's how Satan works in our lives. Get the man, isolate him. So first, let's get him weak. How do we get him weak? Well, we'll just lie to him, and we'll lie to him, and then once he's believing these lies, we can isolate him, and then we can kill, steal, and destroy from him. And that's truly what happens. And if you're in that right tribe, is that gonna happen? No, the tribe works together to help that not happen. And that's why animals work together in a pack, or animals will work together in a big herd, because that makes it much harder for the lion to attack it. So when we look at how that helps with our health, is it very much lines up with the biblical approach that we are not